Orvel Ray, thank you for being here today. You mentor experts and authors and leaders in a variety of ways to achieve a variety of outcomes. And today we decided we were going to talk about the experience that you've had in leading a group of volunteers.
Hmm.
The folks that are in the big band called the Flatirons Jazz Orchestra. And we wanted to talk about that because we thought listeners could glean some important lessons learned, some techniques of how we influence without authority. Because here you're influencing, you're leading a group of volunteers. So, first of all, tell us about the Flatirons Jazz Orchestra.
Well, let's see. I've started playing drums when I was in high school, and then I spent 30 years on the international circuit as a professional speaker.
Yeah.
And but I always, I always played music on the side as a side hustle. I was in a community band here in Boulder, and I played with them for several years. And but in 2014, I was helping a neighbor fix his roof
Yeah.
and took a very nasty fall. I broke my back. I broke most of the bones in my left foot. Broke my leg. Broke my arm real bad. Did three
Oh,
surgeries to put my arm back together.
you can see the scars. Yeah.
And the surgeon said that because of the damage to the nerves in here, that these are the muscles that move your fingers.
Yep.
They're all up in here and near the elbow. And the doctor said, you my left hand was very badly paralyzed, and she said, no, you will probably never hold a drumstick again. So,
Ah, you told me about that accident. I didn't know you were told you'd never be able to hold a drumstick again.
yeah, well, just yeah, don't tell me what I can't do. So, I got into PT and got busy and got really serious about playing drums again. And it, a friend of mine invited me to help him host a jam session at this nightclub. And so we did that for a while and accumulated this list of musicians. In the meanwhile, things at the community band were going from bad to worse. I just got so frustrated with them. So the
Yeah.
bass player and the guitar player and I decided to start our own project.
Okay.
And so in 2015, we founded the Flatirons Jazz Orchestra with the intention of being a professional working big band. We're a traditional 18-piece instrumentation, five saxes, four trumpets, four trombones, piano, bass, guitar, drums, and one of the best singers in the state, Deborah Stafford. She's just recently won the Colorado Blues Society Challenge for the third year in a row. Was the finalist, went to Memphis. One of these days, he's going to get a recording contract, and we'll never speak to us again. But these people are just so they're just so amazingly talented. And we're now in our ninth year,
Oh, amazing.
and we play in regular rotation at all of the big any room big enough to hold a band that size. We'll play there.
Yeah.
We have a regular standing gig at a nightclub in town that has us on the second Sunday of every month. And then we do weddings and receptions and jazz festivals. And we're doing a big concert in Winter Park in the same stage as the Winter Park Jazz Festival coming up in July. So it's been a really exciting and very rewarding project for me musically. Um, but it's also been a laboratory for leadership,
Yeah.
which brings us to your topic, because with 18 mouths to feed, we can't, everybody's lucky to get gas money.
Mm.
Even though the venues are pretty generous with us, but we're going up against a four-piece rock and roll band and
Yeah.
doing Beatles covers, and so the economics of it just don't quite work out. And every Sunday afternoon when we get together for rehearsal, I just I open every rehearsal with a profound thanks of all. Here you are, a perfectly sunny, beautiful afternoon in Colorado. You could be doing anything else,
Mhm.
and here you are, and I'm grateful. Thank
In
you.
this room.
Thank you for that, for being part of that.
Yeah.
So I suppose the question on the table is, how do you create an organizational culture where you have a certain level of discipline and accountability, uh, and no formal authority. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
all in effect volunteers.
Yep. Yeah, I definitely wanted to get into, yeah, how when you're bringing new members on board, when you grew that from the original three founders to the 18 members that you now have, how did you invite folks? How did you explain the opportunity, but also ask for the commitment?
Well, a couple of things. One, I mentioned this open stage that we hosted, and so we had a notebook for people to sign in who wanted to come up and play.
Ah,
And so when we decided to form FJO, we took that notebook and started calling everybody up. So listen, you play saxophone. We're doing this big band project. You want to play big band? And on the 14th of January of 2015, we had 16 people show up at a rehearsal hall uh,
hmm.
to learn what this is all about. A dear friend of mine, a fellow professional speaker, he was also the music director for the U.S. Air Force Academy band program for a couple of decades, retired from that. He gave me a great piece of advice. He said, it's all about the book,
Okay.
meaning the music. So,
Ah,
uh, so we were very careful. We gave a lot of thought to the book. And so that gave us a great kind of jumping off point. And so we decided to constrain our time zone to from mid 1930s to about the early 1950s, that what's known in jazz as the swing era.
okay.
And artists like Duke Ellington and Count Basie, Ella Fitzgerald, Frank Sinatra, uh, and with a focus on dance music.
Okay.
Because,
Mm,
with my background in marketing, I helped write the books on guerrilla marketing.
yep.
And so we knew that if we, as long as we could get people to show up for dances, that we would always have gigs.
Mm,
That would be our focus. So we started with this very large book, narrowed it down to this particular time range, narrowed it further. So, we played dance, big band dance music. Uh, and then over the years, the band has evolved to we do more concert pieces, and starting with the book, and then within that another layer, which is we shall play no songs that suck,
That's a great.
because there's a lot of bad charts out there, bad transcriptions. The real book, the classic American songbook, is notorious for mistranscriptions, bad chords, measures missing. So that was the next. Okay, we will play no charts that suck. And sometimes we'll pull up a new chart and we'll run through it once, and we look at each other and go, "This arrangement sucks." Okay, delete. Next.
That's not us. Okay, I love this Orville Ray, and I know we wanted to be translating your experience of leading this orchestra to leaders, even individual contributors inside of an
Mm-hmm.
organization who are trying to influence others. We're all in matrixed organizations right now, and they might not be a direct report of ours, right? Yet we're trying to
Mm-hmm.
influence their work in some ways. I've heard a couple of pieces of guidance, if you will, from what you've shared already. You talked about the open stage, right? Like ways that you invite people in, let them know about um, your team or your work or this project or this initiative that's coming their way, right? Give them a way to say that they're interested, or this would be the piece that they'd be most interested
Mm-hmm.
in learning more about or contributing to. I love that you were clear about who you were, right?
Right. A lot
We're
of managers, a lot of businesses, you ask the employees, well, what do you do? What do you sell? I don't know. You know, I just,
yeah,
work in the warehouse. I have no idea.
yeah,
And I'm reminded of that cliche story about the stonemason. He's asked, what are you doing? He says, well, I'm cutting a piece of stone. And so asked another guy on the job site, what are you doing? He says, well, I'm building a wall. And he asked another guy, what are you doing? He says, I'm building a cathedral. And he asked the fourth guy, he says, what are you doing? He says, I'm getting closer to God with every stroke of my hammer.
The purpose, the
And so being
purpose, right?
really having not just being clear about it, but having boundaries around it. What business are we in? What do we do? What do we always do? What do
Yeah.
we never do? Who are we doing it for?
Mm-hmm.
Where do we find those people? And then one of the things we did is we went to dance clubs and we asked the dancers,
Right.
help us make a list of the songs you like to dance to.
Yeah.
Duh, right?
Yeah. Ask your ultimate customers what they're gonna
Right. And
want.
so, right. So we had an enthusiastic audience from the beginning. And
Nice.
so as a musician, the worst thing that you can do is show up and play to an empty room.
Yeah.
So a lot of what makes this organization attractive is that everyone's clear what we're up to, and they all want to be a part of that.
That's great. That's
You
great.
want to go
I
play
want to,
Grateful Dead covers, yeah, knock yourself out. But this is what we do, and you're
no, you,
either that's what you want or you're in the wrong place. That's all.
yeah, no, a couple
Like
great,
Jim Collins said, get the right people on the bus,
yeah,
and then you got to tell them what kind of bus it is. We wrote a manifesto, maybe a one-page Word document
nice.
that basically spelled out, this is the mission, these are the expectations, some ground rules. If you show up late for a gig, you will be sent home. Period. No questions.
Mm, mm-hmm. Oh,
Uh,
like
you're
that.
you're expected to be there 30 minutes before sound check, dressed and ready. No noodling. No, this is when people noodle around on their horn playing in between songs or whatever.
Mm-hmm,
High
mm-hmm.
school kids do that. Professional bands never noodle.
Okay.
Um,
I didn't know
the,
that.
the,
Learned that.
if you hear something, you say something.
Nice.
We're very different in that when we set up to rehearse, we put the band in a square with the trombones on one side and the trumpets and then the saxophones and the
Oh,
rhythm
okay.
section.
Yeah.
Everybody, the singers in the middle, everybody faces each other.
Oh.
And so there's no place to hide.
Ah,
And, so
visibility.
if you make a mistake, somebody's going to hear it. And I'm not going to tell you how to play the saxophone. I don't play the saxophone. I can barely play the drum set. But there's something going on in measure 63. Can we take a look at that?
Yeah.
And yeah, so everybody's got the same number of ears. And if it ain't right, please speak up. And it's always about the music and it's never personal. You're
Nice.
not allowed to say, Jerry, you keep screwing up that solo. You're not allowed to ding anyone.
Yeah.
And so we get a lot of great crosstalk and suggestions. What astonishes me about that environment is it also creates a lot of chatter, 40% of a person's motivation for participating in volunteer activities like this is social.
Yeah. Okay.
And so you have to give them time to chat among themselves. Somebody wants to tell a story. Somebody wants to share a joke.
Mm-hmm.
You got to make room for that. You can't be all business, all let's work. I got to get this done. We got to get ready for the show. There's got to be room for that kind of off mission communication.
Right.
And I know a rehearsal is going really well when I hear a lot of laughter.
Yeah. Good.
Right? Yeah, we totally train wreck an ending or something, or half the band misses the coda to go back to the whatever, and it totally blows up, and everybody's like, "Oh, we really all right, let's go from the top, 2, 3." Yeah,
I was gonna bring up humor earlier when when you have the
go
mantra,
ahead.
we shall we shall play no songs that suck, right?
Right.
Which also underscores being really clear about what you do and what you don't do. And since then, you've also said that you went out and asked your customers,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that's guidance for everybody, whether those are external customers or internal folks that you're going to serve with this project or this work, right?
Mm-hmm.
Ask folks what they need, what's going to be most important to them. I love this one pager, right? You might
Mm-hmm.
not call it a manifesto for your initiative, but folks that are going to play significant roles, what are the expectations? What are the
Right.
rules of engagement? How is it going to operate? What are your ways of working together? Love this about creating the square and everybody facing each other, And translating that to the workplace, how do we create visibility of what everybody's working on, right? Do we have shared folders? Do we have shared mural boards, right? Where we're working and we're crafting. How do you
Well,
create?
even on a bigger scale than that, look at Apple's new headquarters. It's
Yeah,
literally a rig.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. How do we see each other? How do we create that crosstalk, right?
Right.
Get suggestions going back and forth. Have that
Mhm.
forum where it's like, okay, bring your issues, or what are you looking to accomplish in the next phase? Let's have everybody
Well,
throw their ideas in.
we also encourage people to bring your music. If there's something you'd like to do,
Ah,
uh, suggest it. I'll go find the chart. We'll go buy it if we have to. We had a suggestion from one of the trumpet players who said, we should feature the trombones. There's this piece called that Stan Kenton did. It's called "But Beautiful," and it
hmm,
was never a hit, but it is so pretty. We
ah,
should try it. And the first time we played through it, the trombones, these big fat horns
yeah,
in 4-part harmony, as it's just, oh my, it just brought me to tears the first time I heard it.
it was beautiful.
So
Oh,
it really is, but it's really beautiful, beautiful piece of music. And so as we put it in the lineup. Uh,
excellent.
Alto saxophone came to us and said, "Oh, I found this chart and it's outside of our time zone, but it kind of fits our style and it features the first alto, and I'd like to play it. Can I? Can I? Can I? Can I?" And so we did. I really try to hold open space for that.
Lovely, lovely, right? So asking team members, what do you want to contribute? Where do you see us taking this? What skills and interests do you want to explore
Mm-hmm.
inside of the work that we're doing? All right, Orville Ray, let me tell our listeners a little bit more about you. Orville
must,
Ray
must be,
Wilson. What?
must be.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
It'll only take a moment. Orville Ray Wilson, my guest on the podcast today, is co-author of 6 of the legendary Guerrilla Marketing books, which is translated into 63 languages and more than 25 million books are in print. For more than 40 years, he has been traveling around the world, helping people just like you learn to get the edge you need to win in today's competitive market. He's spoken in more than 1,000 cities in 47 countries and on every continent except Antarctica. In an international internet poll, Orville Ray has been voted one of the world's top 5 sales and marketing speakers a record 5 years straight. As an executive speech coach, he helps professionals discover, develop, and deliver their unique message to the world. I'm so delighted to have you on the Courage of a Leader podcast today, Orville Ray.
Well, thank you. I want to meet this guy. He sounds.
He is. He's fascinating. He's fascinating.
Yeah, that's my day job. I take people who are experts and help them become authorities and then thought leaders and grow their business using my experience as a speaker, as an author.
Yeah,
Uh,
and I know you've talked about the Flatirons Jazz Orchestra. We'll get some information in the show notes so that folks can see where your regular gigs are and where they might see you in the
mhm.
near future. I'd also love to point them to a link of a video so they can see you playing. If that
FlatironJazzOrchestra.com, just like it sounds. We
excellent,
have a channel on YouTube with a whole bunch of stuff.
good, good.
We just released a new CD. We're very proud of it. I'm holding it up here for the video camera.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, and we post our shows regularly on YouTube, so you can find us there. Uh, if you go to our website, FlatironJazzOrchestra.com, look in the upper right corner for a big red subscribe button, and that'll take you a form for your email, and then we'll send you a notice and let you know when we're playing.
excellent. And I know if you're also interested in talking to Orville Ray about his day job, they can reach out to you and get an hour of your time, a coaching session. How do they do that, Orville Ray?
Yeah, I'll give anyone an hour just for asking. So if
Right
you're
off.
a professional and that book inside you is going to have to come out,
Mhm.
or you've thought about using presentations or seminars or public speaking as a way to grow your practice, that's what I do. And if you just send me an email, ORVELRAY, Orvel Ray at gmail.com, and I'll get you on my calendar. I'd love to meet you.
Lovely, generous offer. And I know I learn from you, Orville Ray, every time we talk. So take him up on that one. Orville Ray, you're really describing um, a safe place to bring your ideas, a safe place to learn in front of one another. How do you create that safe space? What allows for that?
Well, I mentioned this manifesto as one of the things that we're clear about is it's always about the music and it's never personal. And we're just, we're all just having fun. And if it's not fun for you, then let me know, what's going on.
Yeah.
Uh, our music director, Doug, he sometimes gets a little wound up and will raise his voice, sometimes. And I have to take him aside and say, listen, this is a sacred space. This is a place where we come as artists
Yeah.
to explore and try new things and take risks and make mistakes and learn and improve. And so you, you never raise your voice at anyone. You never, you require, I have to hold the example and maintain accountability for anyone who misspeaks or crosses that boundary, and just remind them, no, we
Nice.
are all committed to this being a safe place.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is that same ethic carries over onto the stage. So when we do a show, and
Hmm.
somebody misses an ending or somebody hits a bad note or whatever, it's like, okay, jazz, let it go. As long as they're dancing, I don't care.
Yeah. Yeah.
I, you know,
So we don't have to
let's
have a
keep,
reaction to that while we're on
yeah,
stage and yeah, being
you know,
watched, being listened to. Hmm.
sure, mistakes happen. And because of that, the quality of the performance that we get is so much better because, no, we don't have that performance anxiety going on. We don't, people aren't worried about, oh my God, if I screw up, right? They're just like, hey,
Someone's
let's
gonna
go, let's rock, let's
lovely. Lovely. So
just
I'm
play, play your
yeah.
heart out. I don't care if it's a bad note, just as long as you play it like you mean it.
Play
Nobody
that
will
bad
know.
note with confidence.
Oh yeah, it's supposed to be that way.
No, I
Yeah,
love this. And, and,
the
and
jazz chord.
And translating this to any work project or initiative, right? You're saying it's always about the music, right? So having people focused on what's the bigger picture purpose of what we're doing here, folks, right? What are we committed to? And then I'm hearing as the leader or as the project leader, right? Or whoever's the keeper of the culture, right? If someone exhibits a behavior, that could shut people down or could make them feel not safe, making sure that that's addressed, having that conversation with someone, right? Like, hey,
Hmm.
that's not what we're about here, and that could have some negative consequences on what we're doing and what we're trying to create here.
Right. And because of this environment, we attract some of the best players in the city. You
Yeah.
know, our bass trombone player is working on his master's degree in trombone performance. He's going to wind up
Wow.
in some big city symphony orchestra one of these days. But he's got a master's degree in trombone, and he's showing up at an event center to play for 2.5 hours for $50, just because he wants to be part of this thing.
Yeah.
And he wants to play this music with these people
Yeah.
because it's just so much fun,
Wow.
you know, and it's such a contrast to the environment of being in an orchestra where you've got a guy with a stick up front whacking everybody, literally. Uh, we're all there for the love of the music,
Mhm.
and that shows up in the way that the art comes together. And so another principle here I would add to your list, maybe this
Yeah.
is the most important idea of this conversation, is that the music is not the art. The organization
Mm,
is the art.
mm,
And it's alive and it's organic and it breathes and it moves and it feels and it requires constant attention and commitment.
mm.
And it's harder to keep alive than tropical fish.
Yeah, I
The
mean, I just
music is
feel,
the byproduct, but the band is the art.
yeah, yeah. Well, and I'm just hearing being really present and talking about the special thing that you're creating and doing together.
Yeah.
Celebrate every milestone, right? It's talk about, hey, we work together really well in these ways. Let's call that out. How do we double down on that?
Mm-hmm.
Excellent.
The organization is, whatever business you're in, you really, as Cavett Robert used to say, we're all in the people business.
Yeah.
And your job is not to, move the boxes or build the product or process the claims. Your job is to keep your team together and keep them happy and to hold open a safe space for them to contribute in the best ways that they know how.
To recognize those people, to have fun, to give the trombone player the solo, right? Let
Yep.
people shine and have visibility,
Yeah.
right? Let them know the
And
unique value
applaud
that they
them
bring.
literally when they do. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's a great analogy. Okay, one more question over Ray, and I think it builds on what we're talking about. So you've got 18 folks, or maybe more with your singer, right? On
Mm-hmm.
this in this orchestra, and everybody's got some of them might have different day jobs. We've got different phases of life. Work might get busy. There might be a new baby or grandbaby in the family. Like, how do you keep people interested and committed over time?
Well, that's an interesting question. We have a number of players in the band now, 9 years later, who were there at the beginning. Every time somebody leaves, there's somebody else standing in line often. And we have a list of people who, come to rehearse with us
Got a
just so they can
reputation
learn the
now.
music,
Yeah.
so that they can be first call if somebody's sick or whatever, or has a conflict or they're on vacation. And and so FJO has really evolved into this community, this constellation, and we kind of have our core players, but that creates this gravity well of I have a spreadsheet of more than 100 musicians who,
Wow.
in one capacity or another, have kind of come through the band or come and go, or they play in other groups, or we trade music or whatever. So it's it has evolved out into this community network that covers the whole music scene from one end of the state to the other. And that's really fun. It's never quite the same twice. Always evolving.
Yeah. There's a leadership development program that I lead and where we talk about, hey, all of you as people leaders, it's your job to continually attract and engage talent, right? And how
Mm-hmm.
do you do that in a way that leverage your strengths that feels appropriate to you, that feels aligned with your brand? So that's what I was thinking about when you're like, I've got this list of musicians, right? We always want to have our eye out there, right? Who are the great people that have the great talents in our orbits that we
Mm-hmm.
might want and need to get involved in some way at some time. Orville Ray, you have shared so much great guidance through this lens of leading the Flatirons Jazz Orchestra. Let me just recap some of this for our listeners. Um, Giving an invitation, right? Sharing about what you're doing so that you can find out who's interested, like you did with your open stage. You were really clear on the book, right? Who you are and who you're not, right? What we're
Mm-hmm.
not going to be involved in, because we all know that scope creep can happen so easily. Check in with your customers from time to time. What kind of dance music do they want to hear? Right? What's
Yeah.
working? How could you work better with them? What's your one pager? Right? Expectations. Let's be clear about who we are, what we're up to, how we're going to work with one another. Giving visibility on the team to what different folks are working on, right? Give them ways to interact, encourage that crosstalk, that it's always about the music, right? We're not blaming people. We're looking at the process and the purpose, what we're up to, and address when folks are exhibiting behaviors that don't allow the space to be safe and collaborative, right? And it's about the people. Recognize them, build them up, give them opportunities for visibility, and know who are the next people that you're going to get involved. So much great guidance. I hope that many of our listeners take a listen to the Flatirons Jazz Orchestra. And thank you for sharing some of your expertise and experience with us today, Orvel Ray.
It's my pleasure, Amy. And if I could be of service to any of your listeners, just send me an email, orvelray at gmail.com, and we'll get you on my calendar. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, been a real pleasure. And thank you for that generous offer to the listeners.